Welcome to Voices of the Valley. I'm Andrew Buckman.
I'm Joel Haas.
And let's get right into some headlines.
Cool. All right, so first we're going to go to wrestling. Number 1, Penn State knocks off number 2, Iowa. Fell behind a little bit through the first 5 matches, which was expected. RBY had a nice pin there. And then obviously they came on strong down the stretch to secure the win. Big win for Penn State in what some are calling the national championship. So yes, they stay undefeated on the season.
Yeah, I mean, Max Dean and Greg Kirkliet were awesome at the end, and they had 2 pretty big performances. Neither got a pin, but they showed why they're national championship contenders come the end of the year. Next up, Penn State swept Lindenwood. They dominated Game 1. I believe it was like 6-2 or something like that. Game 2 was a little tougher. They fell behind early, 2-0, and then they scored 6 straight and just never fell behind from there, obviously. So, 4 straight wins, first in the CHA, and I believe they can lock up the conference against Syracuse.
Yeah. We'll move over to men's basketball. Really big win over Michigan this week. Not the biggest win in the BJC, obviously, because of wrestling, but a 22-point win over Michigan is always good if you're a Penn State fan. I believe the largest margin of victory ever for Penn State over Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah, and Hunter Dickinson, who's their superstar, first-team All-American, was held to just 6 points, which is not necessarily a testament to Keba, but I did say, credit to me, that if they wanted to win, they had to hold Hunter Dickinson down, and that's exactly what that defense did.
Yeah, no AP poll votes, and obviously Michigan's having a down year this year relative to expectations there. But if Penn State keeps on winning, especially against tough Big Ten competition, they might sneak into that poll at some point. Okay, and then one team did not have as much success against Michigan. That would be the men's hockey team. They were swept. The first game was not close. The second game was close. But either way, 0-2, no points on the week for them.
Yeah, and we'll get into that more when we have our next guest on.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show our second ever guest, Joe Tuman.
Thank you for having me. It's a
men's hockey beat reporter.
Yes, and general sports.
And general sports.
And social media.
And social media.
Can't
forget.
Guys? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming. So as Joel kind of talked about before you came on, men's hockey had a pretty brutal weekend.
Yes, it did.
I watched both games. I knew you watched both games. What stood out to you? What was so poor about the way they played?
Well, I think that one thing that they definitely didn't do as well is that lately, or since really come back from the new year, they haven't been able to, we talked about this a little on media day, like they haven't been able to hold the leads as well as they did early in the season. But the second game, I mean, Luke Hughes, 4 goals. Like, what are we doing here? Is this Sidney Crosby? Like, if you're going to have someone scoring 4 goals against you, it's going to be hard to win the game. I mean, we were talking about this last night. Just from the defensive end, it's not even like they're not bad players. Like, we have experienced guys, and even the 3 freshmen have done a good job for most of the season. But just some of the goals, like, it's like it seems like they've been getting a lot of these, like, backdoor cut goals that like just ultimately Liam can't really do much about. Like, I'm not a hockey whiz. Like, I will say that, like, schematically I don't be breaking down tape every week, but I can say, like, I don't know, I feel like at a certain point the defense does need to help Liam a little there. I mean, Liam did allow 3 goals in that first game on Friday before they pulled him. Then 4 more goals came through anyways, even though we changed goalies. But I don't know, I would just say, like, just observing. I mean, obviously I wasn't there this week because it was a road series, but you just gotta bring the energy. I mean, that's what I would say. I mean, I've been watching them since October. I mean, I said before this coming series, I was like, oh yeah, they'll take at least one. Like, I was talking to, I won't name drop anyone, but some other people for some other publications who cover the men's hockey team. They're like, yeah, Michigan's gonna kill us. I was like, really, you guys? We did pretty good against them in November, but I guess I was wrong. We did do really bad. So I don't know, for our standards anyway. So I would say they just gotta. I don't know, I guess they got to get together in the locker room and just internalize and kind of just find the drive again. I guess refocus on the culture. I don't know.
Yeah. Obviously a tough tough series against Michigan there. They really need a bounce-back series here.
Yeah.
What kind of chances are you giving them against Ohio State?
I don't really see why. Once again, like I don't see why this team can't keep winning games, even though I know they're 1-4-1 in their last 6, but it's like I don't know. Like we played Ohio State in December. That was not that long ago, and we were fine against them. We beat them, I think 5-4 the one game, and I think we lost. Was it maybe 3-2? I can't remember the exact score,
like
but
that.
we split with them. Like I mean, as Guy Gadowski always says, Big Ten is the monsters of college hockey. So that's always going to be an issue going against a team like Ohio State who just passed them in the rankings. But I don't see why as long as they get good looks on offense, again, I mean, they love firing off, 40, 50 shots a game, but we have talented players. Like, they can score goals. I mean, obviously with Kerwin sideline, that's one of our, if not our best goal scorer out. But still, I think they've been, even in the Saturday game, they scored 4 goals. It's just they lost the lead late and Luke Hughes went off.
Kind of part of that talent, though, is Ben Schoen. He's pretty often the fastest skater on the ice. If it's him and Dani Genev, then it's a close race there. Mm. But I think that Ben Schoen's loss will be felt in that way. Like when they're going down the ice, they're trying to fight for pucks, trying to stop icings and stuff like that. What do you think is the biggest takeaway from losing him for the rest of the year?
I mean, Ben Schoen, I think he's been really consistent on like on the lower lines. I know Guy Gadowski doesn't like numbering the lines, but on some of the lower lines, like I think that I was asking Guy about it earlier. I mean, he was just saying that it's kind of like you were saying, just the pace of the game changes when Ben Schoen is in the lineup. And Penn State, this is something they've been talking about all season, is that all the offensive depth they have, like guys like Lugris and Dick, they can come back into the lineup. Lugris last year, I mean, when he was a freshman, he came in halfway through the season, had a great run scoring points. So we'll see if he can maybe rekindle that. We'll see with Chase McLean's another one who came back into the lineup a couple months ago. He's been in and out at times, so maybe he'll get more consistent playing time going forward. But I think that Ben Schoen's definitely a big loss, and he was a guy who's almost always in the lineup. So obviously it's gonna, especially with Kerwin already also out, losing 2 guys like that it's gonna alter some chemistry on some of the lines. But I don't know, the thing that the staff, the players have been talking about all season is that they trust the depth. That's one of the biggest assets the team has. I don't know. I think that if they are going to keep winning games, guys are just going to have to step up. So I think that, like I said, I think there's no reason they can't hold their own against Ohio State, even without Ben Schoen, even without Ryan Kerwin. I think this team is deep enough that they can do that.
There's, I believe, 6 games left in the season.
Yeah.
Obviously, some tough matchups. We talked about Ohio State. We've got Minnesota and Wisconsin before the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
Obviously, a couple of series ago, we were thinking, Penn State could go pretty far this year. Penn State can compete for the conference.
We're looking at some Florida tickets.
Now that viewpoint, I feel like, has kind of shifted a little bit. What do you think is like a realistic expectation for this team as far as not just the rest of the season, but into the postseason?
Well, I like the preface. I told my grandmother that I might not be going to come home for Easter over the weekend because I might be in Florida covering hockey. So that aside, a realistic expectation. Like I said, I think taking a game against Ohio State is a must. It's an expectation. I have it as just someone who covers the team. I'm absolutely sure that's what Guy Gadowski's expectation is. So that has to happen. Minnesota, they didn't sweep us last time. They didn't sweep Penn State last time. I mean, it's the expectation that I, as someone who covers the team, has that they have to win this week. I'm sure Guy Gadowski thinks they have to win this weekend. So if Penn State wins this weekend, there's no reason they can't compete against Minnesota. They didn't get swept by Minnesota last time. I know they're the number 2 team in the country. Are they still number 2? Well, I know they're number 1 in the Big Ten. I know that for a fact. So if they
Minnesota's 1 now.
Really?
Yes.
They're up to 1, yeah.
Jeez. Anyways. If they're the number 1 team in the country, the way Penn State's been playing right now, it is going to be hard to beat them. But at the same time, like I said, it's just Big Ten.
Wouldn't be the first time they knocked off the number 1 Minnesota.
That's true. Well, they knocked off 2 number 1 teams way earlier in the season. So, and then Wisconsin, they're 3-7 in the Big Ten. Penn State hasn't swept a lot of teams. Well, really any teams in the Big Ten this season, I don't believe. Oh, they did sweep Wisconsin the first time. So they're going to have to do that again if they're going to have a nice standing in the Big Ten tournament. And they have to obviously at least take one of those games. So I don't know. I don't see why they can't still have a nice Big Ten tournament run. Like I said, I still think this team is really talented. I think they have a lot of good players, but I guess I can't just say, yeah, they're going to the Final Four, the first and four, and I'm going to be going to Florida with Jimmy Gracie to cover it. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but yeah, they can definitely still win a few rounds of the Big Ten tournament at the very least. They have to have that expectation.
Who do you think would be the most capable fighter on the team? Like, obviously in collegiate, on the ice,
Yeah, I want to see
taking
some
off
fights.
gloves.
I signed up for the hockey league.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen any straight up.
Unfortunately, they're not allowed in collegiate hockey. You get suspended.
Yeah, that's kind of silly. The NCAA tripping as always. Best fighter on the team. Well, I mean, Paul, just with his experience, his captaincy, the seniority there, like, I don't see why, like, if he had to take the gloves off, he wouldn't be capable of doing that. I think Xander Lampa has no problem getting into the thick of the action when there's some tense action on the ice. So I think he would love to get in on that. He already, lays some nice hits down, might lead to some penalties at times for him, but I think he'd be up there. Who else? Those are the two that come to mind. Some of the other defensemen I just haven't, picked up. I mean, 3 of them are freshmen. I'm not really totally sure where their
I don't think they'd have a chance.
temperaments are at. Those are the 2 I would go with off the dome. So we'll stick with those answers.
Good too.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, we'll go to what I know is one of your favorite topics to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
That's Guy Gadowski. I'm gonna have you.
Say the culture. But
well, okay.
I do love listening to Guy Gadowski speak. Though. Hopefully, he doesn't watch
he's definitely developed a. I would call it a unique culture here in Happy Valley.
Uh-huh.
What do you think makes the culture so good here at Penn State?
Like for the hockey team, or
the hockey team.
Okay. What makes the culture so good is that I can tell everybody buys in to what he's selling them. I mean, he's been here for a decade or over a decade because 2011. So he's definitely instilled his culture with his approach to coaching this team by now. But I think everyone seems to, even talking to him today, going into this series, like even when losses like this last weekend happened, like everyone's just even keel. Everyone still believes that they're as good as they say they are and as good as they performed throughout the season. And Gadowski, like when I'm watching the games, he when he's at the press conferences, he's very detailed in his answers. He's very attentive to everybody's questions for almost all the time. I think that when you have a coach like that, he's gonna think, he definitely thinks about everything at a critical level. But then when you see him on the bench coaching, he's never. He kind of just lets the guys just go about their play, and he kind of. The only time I ever see him yelling is at the refs, which is, I guess, the mentality that you want to have from the coach. Like, if he's just riding for his guys, he's gonna let them, go out there and just do their thing. And I'm sure he's, saying stuff to them on the bench, like in the game. But I never see him losing his cool at any players. It seems like he just trusts his guys to go out and get the job done, and whatever the issues he might have after the game, seems like they handle that behind closed doors. He always says that at the press conference. Like he doesn't really try to, if he did give someone a stern talking to, he's not going to let us know about it. So I think the fact that, to put it shortly, I think that he thinks about everything from a he's very thoughtful in the way he approaches coaching this team, but he isn't necessarily going to let that show in the heat of the moment. I think that's what makes the culture so good.
There we go.
Yeah.
Fired up.
Yes.
Love Guy Gadowski. Speaking of which, Guy, one of the best things about Guy is his stupid and goofy phrases. Some
I
of
wouldn't
them
even call it stupid. Like I love he has a way with words. I'd say that.
That's true.
He has I like his vocabulary.
I do too. But can you give me some of those phrases? My personal favorite is probably just the fact that he uses the word culture. Like this entire culture thing was based on the fact that Guy Gadowski never stops using that word.
I hope people watching know, like the culture rankings, if you follow me on Twitter, like that's not like just some maniacal thing I've thought up of. Like Guy Gadowski, he's always talking about the culture. He references the culture when, talking about, oh yeah, we swept this team and it helps the culture improve. these guys in the locker room have helped the culture. Like he references whenever he can. Like it's a real thing. That's part of his coaching approach. It's just he wants everybody to buy in, but it's not like in a toxic way. It's like it seems like he tries to foster that relationship with the team, and the culture he just talks about it all the time, and I think that proves that he's always thinking about it. But other phrases that he said, I mean, I already said it earlier, I think, but when he calls the Big Ten like the monsters of college hockey, that's a great one. And then sometimes he'll just come up with the most random phrases. Like I liked when they were coming off the Michigan State series, I think, and he said like the guys were in a surly mood. I love that. Used that in an article. Good quote. I like when. Well, what's another one he said? There's another one I was gonna mention.
He's called him like.
He always calls Liam Solier a cool cat.
Yeah,
that's a pretty
cool
good one. Like calm and composed in the net. His mood's never changing. That's a good one. And then I like when he gets. Guy Gadowski will also, when he's trying to really enunciate something, like he'll be like, he's a big, strong. Like he does that a lot. He makes that face. I don't know if people know what I'm talking about, but like kind of almost a snarl.
Yeah, snarl.
That's the way you said it. Like that's what he does. He does that a lot. And he uses his hands. Like if he's telling you like it's a big player, he's a big guy out there on the ice. He's a strong guy on the ice. He'll do that a lot. It's just once again, the attention to detail, the attention to the vocabulary, the attention to answering. Just he's attentive to the questions the media is asking, and I'm sure in the locker room I don't get to see that, but I'm sure that's where it most matters. If he's making my job enjoyable like that, I can't even imagine what playing for him would be like in that locker room. That's probably, to go back to the other question, another reason the culture's so good. Cool.
Yeah.
That's what you gotta say that.
That was awesome, Joe Tuman. I got fired up there.
Joe Tuman is very fluent in Gadowski.
Yeah.
Apparently.
All right. Next up, let's do our power ranking now. So we're gonna have you give us
the Joe Tuman power rank. They're back.
Well, we're gonna have you power rank.
JP's not gonna be happy.
Give us your top 3 penalties in hockey.
Oh.
You can take a second.
Well, do they have like one for like I love techs in the NBA. Like when Pat Beverly was like showing the camera to the ref.
They generally give like game misconducts,
Lame.
like the 10 minute.
I mean, there's not a lot of yappers in hockey though. It's a much different approach to the game between the two sports. But favorite penalties. Well, I don't like when like someone gets slashed with like an ice skate, so I wouldn't say that. Like I'm trying to think of like good ones, like funny ones.
Roughing's always a good one.
Well, yeah, just like a nice shove.
You gotta have roughing top 3.
Yeah, roughing's in there. I mean, goalie interference. I wouldn't want that to happen to Liam, but like it would be for like Ron.
Or any goalie.
Okay.
Joe Tuman disagrees.
No,
But there are some goalies that
goalie interference is like it's a funny penalty because like Ron Hextall played for the Flyers. Like if he got decked by a skater, he's coming out of the net and he's gonna be fighting. Yeah, so like stuff like that, like it can lead to some fun interactions on the ice. I mean, hopefully no one gets injured severely or anything like that. But if no crazy injury happens to someone, goalie interference is a fun penalty.
One more.
Too many men on the ice. I mean, that's
a good one.
It happened to us though. It happened to Penn State like a month ago. Gadowski wasn't happy about it.
That's the most embarrassing penalty in all of hockey.
Yeah.
Just don't go on the ice when it's not your turn to go on the ice.
I'm a Packers fan. NFL-wise, too many men on the field. That's our bread and butter. So I love stuff like that.
Joe, you got to hit us with your Super Bowl prediction now. Now that we're talking about football.
Yeah, the Eagles fans aren't gonna like this. Give me the Chiefs.
Wow.
Mahomes, he's going to be the GOAT. Like when it's all said and done, dude needs more than one Super Bowl to be the GOAT. I think the Eagles, great team. I just think at a certain point, well, one, I think Andy Reid. I like Nick Sirianni, but I think Andy Reid, he has the chops to outcoach him. That the Eagles D-line is really good, but the Chiefs D-line underrated, almost as good as the Eagles D-line. Just saying. I know Eagles fans will say that's not true, but it is. And I think Pat Mahomes gets it done, and he's gonna have 2 weeks to get healthy. So I think he's gonna get it done. MVS. What a performance in the AFC title. I love that. Earning all of that $30 million.
Okay. Last thing before we let you go. One hot take on men's hockey.
Okay.
One singular hot take. Can be about
Your
where
hottest
you think
take.
they're gonna
Yeah.
Where do you think they're going to end up?
I'll give you a hot take, but first I'll say, like, I think they're still going to have... I mentioned this earlier, but when we talked about the tournament, but I don't think they're done. Like, I don't think this is it for them. I don't know if that's biased, but, like...
No, not having an
but I
opinion.
think that, I think Penn State hockey still has some story left to be told this season, but that's not a hot take. A hot take... I'm trying to go through, like, the rosters, think of if I have any, like, opinions on anyone.
What about something about where they'll end up?
What do you mean? Didn't I just say that? You mean, like, the NCAA tournament?
Yeah. Like, do you think they'll make it? Do you think
Oh,
they'll go on a run?
I think they'll make the... oh, my God. I think they'll make the tournament for sure. I think they'll make the tournament for sure, but... yeah, I don't think Florida is looking too hot right now, but I don't see a reason they can't win a few rounds in the NCAA tournament. I don't see why they can't do well in the Big Ten tournament. Here, I'll give you a hot take. I'm not saying Liam Chaudier, he should absolutely hold the net down for the rest of this season, and then all of his senior season. I see no reason why that's not happening. But, I mean, Noah Grannon, I would say maybe people don't have a positive opinion of him, but I don't think he's been half bad when he's had to fill in at times this year. So, I don't know. He also hasn't had a ton of fill-in opportunities, but I don't know. I feel like he could maybe... What is he? Is he a freshman?
He's a freshman.
Yeah, so I think there's a world where he could maybe be a full-time starter in 2 years. I don't know if that's a hot take. But
I do think it is a hot take because there was quite a few negative opinions of Noah Grannon, but I think he's looked very good in relief.
I know he allowed 4 goals against Michigan, but I think
he looked
two of
really
those
good.
were empty nets. I don't know.
Yeah, he looked really good.
Yeah, I would say that.
Cool. I think that's all from Joe Tuman, a long time GOAT and
Long time listener,
men's hockey player of all time. All right, that was Joe Tuman. Like I said, great men's hockey reporter. I think I actually said player. I also meant that. He's a terrible skater, it sounds like. I would pay a substantial amount of money to see that. I would pay for him to skate if that's what it takes for him to come out. But that's beside the point. We'll do our team and player of the week real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. So team of the week is wrestling yet again. It's kind of hard to not give the number one team of the week or the number one team in the nation like team of the week because they just continue to dominate at the highest level. And we're going to have this same conversation next week if they just destroy Ohio State. So, yeah, I mean, RBY was awesome. Maxine, Greg were pretty awesome, and they got the W. So shout out to them.
Cool. All right, and then our player of the week for this week, we're going to give it to Jalen Pickett. Big performance against Michigan. We talked about that game earlier, a huge game for the program. Pickett was a big reason why the team came out with a win, 25 points. He added 8 assists. Really efficient shooting, 10 for 17, 2 of 4 from deep. So just a really good night from Pickett. We've had a lot of really good nights from him this year, actually.
Yeah, and he's top 20 for the Wooden Award, so that's pretty awesome. I mean, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Yeah, like the video, subscribe.
Hit the bell, comment, share with your friends.
Retweet
and Venmo
on Twitter.
Me at JoelHaas1.